Hey. Hi. Tally might bark at any moment because there are turkeys walking by. She is very attentively watching. So be forewarned about that possibility. Hello. Give a few minutes for people to get in here. Feel free to say hi when you join. Hello. Hi. Hi, Tina. Hi, Something Bookish, whose name I know and I'm totally forgetting, so I'm very sorry. Hi, Limbs Demon. Hi, Natalie. Hi, Julie. Hi, Leslie. Hi, Erica. Hi, Anne. Hi, Scully. Hi, Aditi. Hi, Rachel. Emily. Vanessa. Joel. Purple Cat. Katie. Sarah. Renee. Bogoogler. Skeleton Key. Dora Pooch. Poach. Potch? Hello. Nat, thank you. Thank you. Hi, I'm glad you guys can make it. So, someone said something about my makeup. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I just filmed a little bit, which is why I was running late. I know I said I was going to be on here at 3, and that was a gross assumption on my part because I had to eat lunch, get ready, which I posted that when I'd already started getting ready. But eat lunch, get ready, film 2 videos, and I didn't realize how long the second video was going to take. So that's why I was a little bit delayed, but I just finished that. And I didn't have any videos filmed for today, which is why I decided to do a live, because I just haven't had time. It's not necessarily that I haven't had time, but filming when I'm living with my parents at the moment, which yes, I could move out at any moment if I really wanted to, but I'm saving money because it's a pandemic anyway, and why move when I'm not going to be using my apartment to see people or anything. Anyway, that's not the only reason to have an apartment, but you know what I mean. So trying to film after my parents go to bed on work days or just when I work in general, it's just it's not super possible all the time, or I'm just tired, or I just don't feel like it. So today my parents were gone, and I decided to take the opportunity after I got done with work to film a couple of things. But just finding the time, if I was living in my own apartment, I would have no problem. It's not like my work schedule is making it impossible to do. It's just the only times that I can film right now are when I'm already super tired from work, instead of during the day when I would usually film when I was living in my apartment. So that's taken a bit of a toll on the filming, and making it so I'm a little bit more behind, because usually I'd have at least a week of videos filmed, and I don't at this point, which sucks. I don't love that. When I do film, I have a week filmed, but usually I was a week ahead, and I'm not right now. Love the nails. Thank you. Yeah, I just got them done recently. It's one of the things that I've stepped out and done, because I was doing them myself for a very long time, and now I've decided to go back because I only go once every 3 weeks. I go during the day when no one's there. They're separating people, so you're 6 feet apart, except for from your stylist or whatever you want to call them, tech. But then they have the plastic, they have at fast food restaurants and stuff, between you, just your hands stick through, and then they have plastic on both sides of you, so even though no one's sitting next to you, there's a ton of separation. And then my salons tend to be pretty well ventilated anyway because of the dust from the nails, but mine also has really high ceilings with ventilation, so it's the best that it could be, with everything. But I kind of figure, since I don't work out of the home, I work from home, that my exposure and exposing others is so much more limited than other people would be that do have to work in offices or something, that it's a risk that I'm choosing to take because it's as safe as possible. And it's the self-care that this is great, because I was doing it myself, but it would take me 4 hours to do it myself. And it was just like, that was taking like a whole day off for me. You know what I mean? Like that just impacts my whole day. And I like didn't like doing it. Like I was okay doing it when it wasn't an option. And I was even okay doing it for a while after the salons opened, you know? But I just was like, you know what, if this is like the one thing that I leave my house and do, 'cause pretty much it is, yeah, besides occasionally going to a store, then I'm okay with doing that, you know? They make you wash your hands when you come in. Like they do so much that I'm like, all right, to live life, like I'm okay with this, you know? So, but yeah, the multitasking while living at home is very relatable. Like again, I'm kind of just like, this is what it is for right now. I don't have to be living here. I'm choosing to live here to replenish my emergency fund while I'm working, and then move when I'm in a really good spot with my money, which again, I could move right now. I could, like, I have that ability. But you know, put myself in a good spot during the only circumstance when like pretty much no one is going to judge you from living at home. You know, like there's a lot of people at home during the pandemic. No one is seeing each other. Like I don't feel, you know, there's a lot to be said for how society views people that are living at home, but I don't feel like lazy or like lame or whatever. Like whatever judgments people have about living at home, like I wouldn't be living at home under any other circumstance, but this is like a very extreme circumstance that I'm willing to live at home for a little while. And because like the things that were bothering me before I was working, as far as like I'm too exposed to people, like just with like my family being home all the time and I was home all the time and I was like going nuts. Now I work during the hours that they're home. So again, it's not like I hate my family, but like I work during the hours that they're home. So like I don't have to be, you know, like just sitting there with my family like all the time, you know? So that's helping too, because then I come home, you know, I come home, I come up from my like office from work and like my parents are either in bed or about to go to bed. And so then I get my alone recharge time that I wasn't feeling like I was getting as much when everyone was home all the time, you know? Yeah, making the best of an opportunity and planning for my future. Exactly. Because then I'll be in a good spot. Like by the time I move, I already have like money for moving, but then I'll also have my emergency fund replenished, hopefully, like completely. So it was at the spot that it was when I moved originally. And I'll have money in like all of my travel funds for when we can eventually travel again. Because this year I was supposed to, over Christmas, go see Sarah Jane in Britain, and wasn't able to do that, obviously. So I like have the money for that like already saved so that whenever it's okay to go, like I basically can, you know? So it's putting myself in like a good spot, which I'm very fortunate to be able to do because I know not everyone has that ability. There's plenty of people living at home that like aren't even working, and like that's not their fault, you know, like just the current circumstances, but I'm working and stuff. So it's smart to do it this way. Yeah, Tally, it's Tali is actually how I spell her name. But yeah, she's right here. She's a good dog. She was also in the back of a video I just filmed because she's like, I need to be by you. Hi, thank you. I love my haircut too. Sometimes I'm like, oh, if I could just grow my hair out in like 2 months, like I probably would just to like see what it looked like long again, but it's like never gonna happen. Which I'm totally fine with. Hi from Russia. Ooh, hello. Isn't it like, what time is it there? I feel like it's like in the middle of the night. But yeah, what are you guys up to? Tell me things. Ask me things. Oh, one thing I did want to ask you guys is there any videos you guys really want me to do? Because I haven't been, and this kind of sucks, with being so busy with like, I almost said school, with work, I haven't been able to watch as much like content that I usually do, and I get really inspired by watching other people's content, and I haven't been able to do that as much. So if there's anything that you guys would like to see from me, put it in the chat and let me know, because I just am not as engaged as I usually am. I will at some point. I think it's just like an adjustment period. So I don't want to be like missing out on like topics you guys might want me to discuss. I know you're not living with your cats, but how are the kitties? They're good. I'm actually going to go see them after I get off of this live stream because my neighbor is gone for the day. So I'm going to go see them, but I miss them so much. Kit is like kind of grumpy. Like, so Kit likes being over there, but she's kind of grumpy about it because there's a ton of cats over there. So she's like, blah. And I think she'll be better once. Like, she hisses at everybody. Like, she hisses at, like, all the cats. Like, she hisses at every single cat, including Banks, even though she never hissed at Banks when they lived together before. And she's just, like, tired of everyone. She's the oldest cat there, so she's an old lady and she's grumpy. And then Binks is like very sad that mommy is like not there every day because I can't be because like my neighbor would be fine if I came over every day. I don't want to either, which is awkward. So I don't see him like all the time, and he gets sad. But I can't wait to have them back because I miss them so much. And I just want to cuddle with them like all the time. And yeah, I just can't wait to get them back. So I'm gonna write some of these down because you guys are giving me ideas. Where's my pen? Come on. Oh, jeez. There we go. Okay. More plant videos. What kind of plant videos? Okay. If you play X game. Contemporary romance. Ooh, just started reading The Starless Sea and I love it. Good. Awesome. I'm excited. How did you choose your cats' names? So Kit kind of like came with that name because Kit had like a couple of owners before I got her. So she was named Miss Kitty, so I just called her Kit, like Kit Kat. And then her nickname that is used most frequently is Spoon because she's like the littlest Spoon, like she'll cuddle like that. And then Binks is after like the cat from Hocus Pocus. He's not black. If you guys have seen him, he's like a very big, not black cat. He's like a gray tiger cat. But as soon as I got a boy cat, I was like, his name's gonna be Binks. Like, it doesn't matter, and it's a great name. I also call him Noodle because he like contorts his body like a soggy wet noodle. Like he's just like a long, like thin cat, and he'll just flop in like the weirdest positions, and I'm like, you're like a little noodle. So he's a good boy, and I call him my handsome man. He's my handsome. I love him so much. So that's that. And those are the only two cats that I own right now. My other cats are other places and technically no longer mine. Is there a reason why book 2 focuses less on middle grade novels? I thought that'd be talked about more. I think there are channels that do it, but really I think the biggest reason is that middle grade, like, although people will read outside of like the age range that's recommended, people do tend to read either like directly below their age range or like higher, kind of. So I don't think a lot of people, like usually people that are booktubers are either like, there are some like middle teens, but like late teens to like 20s and 30s. So generally speaking, I think most people aren't going down into middle grade in that. Like I don't read a lot of middle grade because I just like, I don't care about little kids' stories, like, and not because of like a maturity level, just like I want to read about people going through things that are like similar to me. And although I do like some of the themes of middle grade stories, they're just like, it's just not my preference. So I think a lot of people are similar. So that because we have people in like higher age ranges, they're not going down and reading not below the reading level, because that makes it sound like middle grade novels are bad, and they're not. They're very cute. There's a lot of channels that do read a lot of middle grade, but I think that's the reason. Middle grade is also less like publicized, I'd say. Like there's less like almost media coverage of it. Obviously YA and adult get like the most hype by like publishers and things like that, unless it's like a middle grade specific publisher. So I think that like people's exposure to middle grade titles is also less. And I think that has a lot to do with it. But there's a few channels that read it a lot. Like Connor from Conan O'Brien, one of my friends, reads like a lot of middle grade. I think Adri from Perpetual Pages does like a fair amount of middle grade. Joss from Yogi with a Book will do middle grade. She kind of reads a bunch of everything. Those people that are coming to mind, but I know there's more than just that. Especially if you watch Connor, he probably will recommend more like, sorry, I got hair. Will recommend more like middle grade people. Would love to see a video on your favorite YouTubers to watch. I have talked about that briefly before, but I tend to break them into categories. And I watch either like a ton of plant tubers or witchy YouTubers, which I have a video coming up talking about witchy YouTubers. Maybe a day in your quarantine life videotaped. I don't know why, but those videos call me. Sorry, if you have like a hair sticking to my lipstick or something. I could do that, but I probably, I mean, I kind of can't because most of my day is spent in sessions with clients. Like, I don't have work that I can record because I don't do, like, outside of my work with clients, I don't really do much else. I write notes on the clients, which takes me all of like 5 to 10 minutes per session, and then that's it. So I could maybe do something on a day that I like had off, but I'll probably that mostly gets like wrapped into like a reading vlog. I do have plant wish list stuff that I could do. I keep asking people if they want me to do like a plant wish list, and I think like some people don't even know like what that entails, but I do have a plant. I have a whole wish list that I can go over, honestly. I'm getting a new kitten soon. I'm finding it hard to choose a name. Yeah, I find it hard too. Like, what I end up doing whenever I get a new pet is I kind of choose like a couple of names, and then I really do go on their personality. Like, it has to fit because Binks like had a few different names we were cycling between at the time, and also Kai when I had him. We were kind of like, I don't really know like what to call him, and then like it eventually just kind of sticks. And Kai's name is Kai because he looks like the cat people, the Khajiit in Skyrim or like the Elder Scrolls games. So we shortened it. My boyfriend at the time that I was dating, we shortened it to Kai because it like that's how you spell Khajiit, and that's why we call him Kai Kai. Oh, I love that. I knew that if I got a red kitten, it would be called Weasley for the last couple of years, and finally got the kitten to match the name this year. Yes, I love it. I also feel like I do want a black cat next. I won't get another cat unless one appears in front of me and I like can't turn it down. I won't get another cat until one of my cats dies, and I obviously don't want any of my animals to die. But I do want a black cat next, and I'm like sometimes thinking of like names that I like. I really like the name Mordecai. My neighbor has a cat named Mordecai, and he's like orange tabby. But like I kind of like the name Mordecai for a cat because you can also call him like Morty. Like that's a cute name. And then just like any of those like black cat names, like Salem. Like Salem and Binks. That'd be so cute. Oh my God. And I'll probably like get another boy cat because boy cats are just like so. I mean, cats in general are great, but like boy cats have really funny personalities in the way that like a lot of girl cats like don't because they're little divas, which I love that too. But like boy cats are funny. So I want a black cat so bad, but I can't yet. Besides Madeline Miller, who do you think could write the ultimate Hades and Persephone retelling? Besides Madeline Miller, who would I trust with it? I think besides Madeline Miller, the only other person I think could do that will like really appreciate the writing style of that. No. I would say lyrically, I would love like Laini Taylor's writing style, but I actually don't love how Laini Taylor tends to write romances. Like I'm very hit and miss with her. Like I loved Daughter Smoke and Bone, like the first book, but then like lost interest in the last two with like the romance, and then didn't love the romance in Strange the Dreamer. So although like the atmosphere would be really cool with her, I don't really think the romance would. I think, and she would never because I don't think she's interested in this at all. But like Susan Dennard's writing style, like I would really dig for that. Also Erin Morgenstern, but I don't want to say like all my favorite authors. But like I like the writing for a reason. But like if Erin Morgenstern wanted to and put like a ton of like death symbolism in there, ooh, that'd be great. Is it gonna rain again? It's been raining for 7 days. Ugh. Oh, someone asked a very funny question. Who's your current favorite himbo at the moment? Who is my favorite himbo? I haven't watched a lot of like new stuff to get like new himbo content. So I think like my current favorite himbo would be like the king of the himbos, which is Thor. Who he really became my favorite himbo like in Thor Ragnarok and has like remained that way, which is why I'm really mad that they did him so dirty in Endgame. But yeah, I would say probably Thor is my favorite himbo, but I would love more himbo content in general. That would be fantastic. Ooh, video reacting to old favorite books of the year. Spicy. There's definitely books that I probably wouldn't rank in favorites on those lists still. Do you have any middle grade books you'd call a favorite? I don't think any have ever worked for me personally. Do I have any middle grade that I would say are like favorites? Not really. The only middle grade books that come to mind as like being up there are obviously the Harry Potter books, which like I don't consider the Harry Potter books my favorite books of all time. You know, I'm just like, oh, they hold a place in my heart, but like they're not a part of my identity the way they are for a lot of people. I also didn't love the His Dark Materials books. I liked them. I like talking about them, but they're not favorites. Some of the middle grade that I've read recently-ish, yeah, most middle grade that I read is like fine. Like it's like 3 stars for me, but it's not what I'm looking for. Like, which is why I don't read middle grade, because it just doesn't provide what I'm personally looking for. But it's not for me, you know. So I'm okay with that. Where'd you go to college? For undergrad, I went to Iowa State for a semester, and then I went to NIU, which is Northern Illinois University, for the rest of my undergrad. And then for graduate school, I went to Boston University, but it was online. S.J. Jones would do great with the Hades Persephone, the author of Winter Song. See, I didn't like Winter Song. Like, I think she could probably do a good job, but Winter Song is so similar to like a Hades and Persephone vibe, so I don't think that she'd like necessarily do it. I mean, I would say like Roshni Chok, she would do great Hades Persephone, but she's kind of already done it with the Star Touch Queen, you know, like, so people that are going to do just like a straight up Hades Persephone are like the people I already mentioned. But like, you know, I would say S.J. Jones kind of has done her take on Hades Persephone. I'd say, you know, Roshni has done like Hades Persephone, you know. But yeah, I didn't love Winter Song. So I wouldn't necessarily agree with that, which is sad because I wanted to like Winter Song a lot more. How's your TBR takedown going? I mean, I basically like finished it, so I got down to having like I think 3 books were left on my TBR that I hadn't read yet before I got all my books for my birthday. So like now I'm just kind of like doing like I'm still kind of like I never really set rules for myself. Like I wasn't super strict about like you can't read anything else but your TBR, but like I don't go out like buying other books when I have like plenty of books in my TBR. So I'm kind of just back to like that and how I've been for like years basically. Like I'm going to prioritize the books that are on my shelf. I'm not necessarily aiming for 0 or anything anymore, but like you know, I will get these down to like 10 before I get other books, you know. I'll still get sent the occasional book here and there from like publishers, which they're doing that a lot less with everything going on with like COVID and stuff. But yeah, so I got it down and I'm going to be finishing. I think I have 2 more books left that were on my TBR before I got all the other books that I'm going to wrap up, and then I'll be reading kind of like anything off of my shelf. But that's the Silver Serpents, which I'm reading this month because it comes out this month. And then Blood Upon the Sand by Bradley Baleo, which is the second book in the Kings and Shirakai Shattered Sands series. So I have those, and then, you know, that was my TBR kind of down to 0. Have you ever thought about rereading the Shatter Me series? I wonder if your opinion would change. I don't really have any desire to reread the Shatter Me series. Sometimes I think about it, because like when I read it, it was like so fun for me, but it was at the beginning of my booktube journey. My standards were lower. I also went in like just for the experience of the ship. So like I could probably do that again and still have fun with it. But it wouldn't be like a favorite necessarily, I don't think, because now I've read like so many other things that have like really good ships and like really good like plot and everything else. So yeah, I don't necessarily see myself doing that just because I don't have a ton of motivation to, but I'd agree that like most YA doesn't age well. Like very little, like even are the YA that's great right now, like in 5 years, we're not going to think it's that great probably, you know, with a few exceptions. So YA is so, even if it's not contemporary, YA is like so of its time, and like books in general are so like of their time, even if you're writing something like not contemporary, that it's hard for books to age well. It's hard for a lot of media to age well. Have you read The City of Brass? No, but I'm going to be reading it this month because it's this month's Patreon pick. So I will be reading that this month. Basically this month, like I sort of have like a hypothetical TBR in mind that I didn't like post because I don't post TBRs, but like I kind of know I'm going to read. So I reread The Gilded Wolves. I'm currently reading Seven Devils by Laura Lamb and Elizabeth May. I want to read like a ton of space stuff, so I'm going to read like Seven Devils. City of Brass, which is not space, but that's part of my Patreon book pick. I'm going to read Silver Serpents, which is also not space, but it comes out this month. And then if I finish all these things, I want to read more space stuff this month. So like I will probably continue with the Imperial Rocked, the Ancillary Sword. Is that the second book? Ancillary whatever, that's the second book. And then one other space book probably, and that'll be like my whole reading month. Probably. I mean, like we're almost halfway through and I've only read like 2 books this month. So my hopes are not like super high for that, just because I haven't had the time. Like I work 4 days a week now, and that's like pretty much full time for a therapist, because we don't work every day because that would be like really horrible burnout. But when I work, I like am so tired when I get done, because I work like back to back sessions. And then on my days off, like I'm not necessarily always just sitting around reading because that's when I'm getting my other stuff done. So I just don't have as much time as I did pre-job, which I knew. Some book recommendations to beat a reading slump, please. I think I've done a video on that, like reading slump books or like binge read books. Like I've done a couple of videos on like that kind of stuff that you could check out. Curious if you ever read Pierce Anthony and if you liked it. No, I don't believe that I have. How about a video on your top 3 romances from each of the BioWare games? Would you guys want to watch that? Because I know like some of you know BioWare stuff and some of you don't. I mean, I definitely have. I've probably like mentioned my top 3 romances in all of the games that I've played from BioWare. And like my favorite romances of all time on other media, which is on my other channel. So I'm probably have mentioned it because I know I mentioned like, I mean like, I had to have, because all of my favorites are like already mentioned in there. Are you excited for PlayStation 5? I am, but not in the way of like, I'm not looking stuff up about it. Like game releases and console releases, I don't like follow super hard. I just know they're coming out. But I will wait to get a PS5. Like I'll get a PS5, but I'll wait like a year because I want to wait until like only things are getting released for PS5, because when PlayStations first get released, there's still like a ton of like kinks in the system and like bugs, and the games are still for PS4 or like for the previous system that come out. So it's like there's no need to go out and buy the like newest PlayStation yet, and then I can wait usually for the price to go down a bit, and just for it to be worth it for the developers to start making games that are really for that new system. So yes, I'm excited, but like most of the things that I want to play are still going to be on PlayStation 4 for a while. I mean, I have so many games that are on PS4 that I haven't played yet that I need to get to. I love the Imperial Rock series so much, and I've waited for you to read it for years. Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I love the first book, and then now I have the second 2 books I got for my birthday. So yeah. Does therapist job pay well? So like mental health jobs, for what they are, like don't pay well. Like I make enough, I'd say. And as I like build my practice and like my niche and kind of what I focus on, which is very like medical, like cancer is my specific niche. But I really kind of want to have a practice that's like mostly like cancer, chronic illness, like people dealing with those issues and like medical. I have a new client that has tinnitus, which is the ear ringing stuff, and dealing with that. So like I really like these kinds of like a medical component to things, as well as like I'm always going to have people that have like anxiety and depression, and like I also see couples, so like people going through like relationship problems. Like these are the things that like I'm always going to have. But building a practice is like 60% like medical focus is what I plan to do. And as I get more like just better over the years and get like more expertise and like get more training in different kinds of therapy, like I'll get slightly better pay. But it's never going to be like, therapists aren't like rich people. Like we can be comfortable. But also I have a fuck ton of student loans, like over $100,000, you know, and I went to state schools. So like, sure, I might be able to make like a little more money than maybe your average. I don't even know what the average income is for people, to be honest. Tally wants to get out of the room right now. I don't even know what the average income is in the United States, like the median income for like a working person. I might make like a little bit above that, but then I'm paying way more student loans than somebody that could just go and get like a business degree and work in an office. But I also have job security. As like, as that sounds, like, you know, I could make more money working in finance, but the people that I know that work in finance have like such unreliable jobs that could like fire them at any second or like lay them off. Where like my job, like people are always going to need mental health treatment. Like as much as that sucks, it's just kind of like I'm never going to not be needed. And like my specialty is very much needed because people don't specialize in cancer because no one wants to talk about it, or like death and dying, like no one wants to talk about it. So yeah, I went on a tangent there, but like it pays well, but probably should be paid more for what I'm doing, you know? Ooh, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Calloway Sisters series. You can read them for free on Z Library. Is Z Library pirating? Because I wouldn't do that. But I do want to read more of those books, but they're expensive to get from like Amazon or something. So if there is a cheaper option, I would love it, but I want it to be like reputable. Let's see. I started Mass Effect because you mentioned it, and I'm obsessed. That's great. I'm very excited for you. I'm so excited for Deadly Education and The Once and Future Witches. And so in the fall mood, are you trying to read books right after release? Kind of. I mean, I have a lot of books that are backlist books that I got for my birthday. So like that's impacting things. But I'm going to be getting Deadly Education in a like book box, I think. So, and I'll be reading that because we are actually, spoiler, doing it for the House Salt Book Club pick that month. And then Once and Future Witches, I did request from the publisher, so we'll see. But yeah, both of those are like very fall vibes. And I'm thinking this year, this is so like astounding because you guys know how last year was like horrible for me for my anxiety. Like this time last year I was already in flare, like panic flare, but now I'm on medication that's like so great for me and doesn't affect my life in any way negatively whatsoever. I actually need to take that. Let me go get my meds. So I'm fine. And I'm thinking about reading some spooky books for this spooky season. For Spooktober. Let me get my meds. If anybody else needs to take their meds, do that now. I set an alarm, but I was in sessions, so oops. I don't really want to show you guys my bathroom, but here we are. That's my bath towel. Don't mind me. Tally. Okay, we're good. I have to set an alarm to remember to take mine because I take it in the middle of the day. And I forget. And it's also my allergy medicine, so I won't turn into a sneezing mess. Okay. Do you feel pressure in your job to fix people? I know that's not how it works, but I imagine it feels pressuring sometimes. Sometimes it's not so much that I'm trying to like fix people, but like I just want to like help them the most that I can. And like some people, like I can't, like we have a saying that like don't work harder than your clients as a therapist. So like they have to do the work. Like I can tell them everything that I know will help them. But if they don't do the work, like I can't make them, you know? So yeah, there's definitely some of that, like, if you don't tell me the things, like, I can't help you. Or like, if you don't do the things, because even if you're like not capable, and I'm pretty good about like, if something isn't working for somebody, even if it's like the best thing to do, like I switch gears, you know, like I'm not an asshole, because there's some therapists who are like, this is the only kind of therapy I do. And I'm like, nah, like this, if it doesn't work for your client, it's not going to work. But there is that, like, you know, if people are really struggling, I'm like, shit, like I want to help, but like, I can't make you change your behavior, you know? But there is a kind of therapy that I like and that I do. Well, I do CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. And then the other therapy that I really love is called ACT. It's acceptance and commitment therapy, and it's bomb. And that one is like the most helpful across the board. But basically, like, it boils down to, I mean, this is oversimplifying. I keep thinking my mom's coming in my room, but it boils down to like figuring out as a person what your values are, and then making decisions based on that. Which sounds super simple, but it's like not for people. So, but I find those therapy techniques like the most helpful anyway. So, you know, I've been doing social work and mental health for years. This is my first job with like all therapy all the time. So there is that level of like, am I really an imposter? And like, I don't know how to do this and I'm going to fuck someone up. But like, the odds of me fucking someone up are pretty low, but it's always a you know, fear. What was your schooling path to become a therapist? What did you major in? So in undergrad, I did psychology and social work double major. And a double major basically because there were so many overlapping classes that I was like, I can just double major, and that's like really easy. But then once you have a bachelor's degree in psychology or social work, like you can't really do any higher level mental health stuff. Like you can basically get into like foster care and adoption, or like drug and alcohol, some inpatient psych, but like drug and alcohol and inpatient psych, I was like, absolutely not. So I went into foster care, even though I don't like really like working with kids that much. So did that for a while, and then went to graduate school, got my master's in social work. But there's a lot of different degrees you can get to be a therapist. Like there's licensed professional counselors, there's licensed marriage and family therapists. There's like a ton of different kinds that you can get. Like, you know, you can be a psychologist, whatever. I am biased, but I think social work is one of the best ones because it gives you the most job opportunity. Because there's people that do get into like counseling and hate it, and then like they have a degree just in counseling, you know, where social work, like your skills are applicable on so many levels, and social work teaches a lot of like how people work in the systems that they're in. So on a, you know, in a family level, in a like society level, and how societal structures impact things. That other counselors don't get training in. Even though it sounds like it's simple, it's like, it's not. So, and they don't get training in it where like I do. So I understand, you know, a lot more of like how systems influence people beyond just like, oh, it's the individual's fault. And it's like, well, one, it's no one's fault. And two, like, do you understand how certain people live in certain systems that aren't equal to other people, and like how that impacts them? And social workers are better about like resources. As a therapist, I'm not necessarily like guiding you in resources the same way like a social worker working in like a hospital is. But I'm a lot more like clued into that system. So that's why I like social work. Anyway, that was a whole tangent, but that's how I did that. And then for your whatever degree that you're getting, whether it's like a professional counselor or social worker or licensed marriage and family therapist, you then have to get licensed. So you, in most states now, you have to take a test even at the master's level to get licensed. So then you're like a licensed social worker or licensed whatever. And then to be like the highest level, you take like a second one after getting supervised by somebody else who already has that license for like 2 to 3 years, and then you get your highest license. And I should get my highest license like either late this year or early next year, and then I'm done. And I just have to continue to maintain that license by taking trainings a certain amount every year to like renew my license. So basically you have to take continuing education units, which a lot of like medical and like mental health people have to do this, to like stay up in the field and renew your license all the time. So it's a good field for like continued learning because like it's mandatory. And so like most jobs like give you that training or like pay for it. Like my job pays for certain training and for you to get certified and things, whatever. So yes. I have a friend who's a therapist for teens. You guys should be paid more. The stress and drain is crazy. Yeah, we should, because it is draining. I really love it. It's fulfilling, but it is like, damn, like we really, like without mental health professionals, society would be like so much worse. And as it is, we're not as like utilized as we should be. And it's like, man, if everyone got like proper mental health care, do you know like how much better the world would be? But yeah. I am a social worker, so I know I probably just answered this and you already asked before I answered, but yeah, right now I'm a licensed social worker. My last license will be licensed clinical social worker, and then I'll be done. How many sessions do you usually have per day? 6, which again, some people are like, you don't work 8 hours, but it's like, you guys realize that's like an hour of me sitting and hearing everybody's like traumas and it's back to back. So like I'll have like a maybe 5 to 10 minute break between each session, but it's 6. And then Saturdays I work like a half day, which is like 4 or 5, that's not even really a half day, but like they consider it a half day. And then we have trainings once a week, sometimes twice a week, that we'll do before sessions start. So yeah, that's the my current schedule. Sorry, I jumped down, so I have to scroll back up. I think it's wonderful that you're focusing on that field working in radiation oncology. These folks need so much support. Thank you for what you're doing. Yeah, thanks for doing what you're doing. But yeah, I love it, and I'm just trying to get my word out more here in Illinois, because I was so much more well known in Delaware, but like I didn't want to live in Delaware, obviously. So now building my practice here is like slightly harder. But yeah, like that population needs so much more help than they're currently getting. Thoughts on the Winter Keep announcement, the new Graceling World book? I'm excited. I haven't looked into the actual like synopsis for it, but like I will read it, which is why I don't even need to look at the synopsis. I went to school to be a funeral director for a while. One thing that job is, there will always be job security. People always die. Yes. I find like morticians and funeral directors and stuff like that, the culture of that like career to be so interesting. Like I follow like what's her name? Is it Caitlin Doherty? Is that her name? The one who has the YouTube channel about like death. Like she's a like mortician. Is it just Ask the Mortician? Is that what her YouTube channel is named? But I find that really fascinating. Wholesome book recommendation for the spooky season. Ooh, I could probably do that. I'll call those spooky books. I might have done that in the future. Oh, what I was saying before is that I'm probably going to be reading some spooky books. I might attempt Ninth House next month, which I was fully not intending to read ever because of how bad my flare was last year. But I might. So don't hold me to it if I don't do it, but it might happen. Is it difficult to talk about death and stuff, and how is talking about death impacted your life? I don't find it super difficult just because I've been doing it for a while now. Like I'm the person that like I've done it on here before. Like I'll start talking about death and dying and people get like so uncomfortable. And I'm like, you know that like we're all gonna die. Like, you know, so like I find, so it's talking about death and dying is called existential therapy. It's a big part of like existential therapy, just like the whole thing. Like the reason we as humans get so fucked up is because we're some of the only creatures that know we're gonna die. Like no other creatures have the awareness that their death is coming except for us. So that's part of like existential therapy. And I find death and dying really fascinating. I also, since I worked in hospice, like I know you can have like a good death, and sometimes you can't, like it can't happen because like you're in an accident or someone like murders you. Like, see, it's saying things like that. People are like, stop talking like that, but it's like this is just true. So yeah, so I find talking about death and dying to be like fine. Other people get uncomfortable. But I think if our culture was better about talking about death and dying and like being okay with it, like the cultures that have a better relationship with it, I feel are like healthier cultures overall. So do you ever worry about clients finding your channel? Yes. I don't think that they would. Like the odds of that are really low, because when I'm full-time, I'll have like about 25-ish clients. So the odds of my 25-ish clients being someone that finds my channel are as low. My teens have a slightly higher chance. Like I don't think some of my like older people would necessarily find me. By older, I mean people that are like around my age and a little bit older than me. But I do work with teens, and I'm like, there's a slight chance. But I don't think a lot of my teens are like big like readers, like fantasy readers, but there's always a chance. And basically I would just have a conversation about like, hey, you can't watch that. Like that would be unfair. It's like if I found your diary as your therapist and like, yes, you should tell me everything, but like it's an invasion of privacy, and like if you continue to watch, you probably like couldn't work together anymore and like whatever. But I'm also not going to get rid of my channel just on the off chance that someone could find it, you know? But we just have a conversation about it, you know? And honestly, some of my teens found it. Like, I don't know if that would really negatively impact our, like, relationship therapist therapy bond. If anything, it might like improve it. Most of my teens know like I know internet speak, so I don't think they'd be like super shocked because like one of my teens and I like talk about like TikTok memes. Like when we talk about trauma, like we call it spicy memories because like that's what's like people talk about it like on TikTok that way. So yeah, like I'm cool with the kids because of my online experience, but they don't know I have a channel. I love your necklace. Thank you. It's new. It's a black tourmaline necklace, if you guys can't tell, but it's supposed to be protective and protects me from other people's bad vibes. And I love it. Like, I actually feel like it's super helpful, even if it's a placebo effect. But it feels like it's a good reminder, just like, hey, let bad vibes bounce off you. Do not take that shit in. And I love it. And then I cleanse it every night on a selenite pad. So I love her. Thank you for speaking up about meds and medication. I still think it's a taboo. It is, but like they're honestly like in my life I have been so worried about medication and taking it. And every time that I've taken a pill that I was so scared to take, it's helped my life tremendously. Like by leaps and bounds, tremendously. So yeah. I did DBT and it worked so well for me, but you have to be willing to do the work to have it help. Yeah, exactly. DBT is really great too. That's dialectic behavioral therapy for those of you that might not know. But yeah, I mean, all of those are so like behavioral focused. It's really great. But yeah, you have to want to do the work. How does your anxiety medicine work? Does it just stop the physical symptoms or does it somehow stop the anxious thoughts? It's kind of a mix of both. So the medicine that I have, so before I was on this medicine, I do still have this prescription. I was on Xanax, which is like what people will take when they're having a panic attack to bring their panic down and basically like stop their body like reacting so much, but also focusing on the thoughts. Like you kind of just care a little bit less. It didn't like put me to sleep or anything. Some people have more adverse reactions. I had a very low dose, but now I'm on a medicine that is it prevents me from getting anxious, and basically like it's a like neurotransmitter thing. But basically like I will still have thoughts that would make me anxious, but my brain doesn't latch onto them. Because one of the big things that we talk about in ACT, which is the therapy I was talking about earlier, is that when we are behaving in a way that's not helpful to us, it's usually because we're getting hooked on a thought, a behavior, a urge, a memory, whatever the case may be. You can apply it to any kind of like mental health diagnosis. So with me, I would get hooked on my intrusive thoughts because everyone has intrusive thoughts, everybody, but not everyone gets anxious about them the way that people with anxiety or panic do. So now when the thought pops in, my brain doesn't go like and like start freaking out. My brain is just kind of like, okay. And like it just then it can go away, which is fantastic. It's also given me the space to test things out more. So my medicine has given me the mental space to do more behavioral things and more exposure things that I wouldn't have been able to do without the anxiety medicine. So it's been able to, you know, let me research witch stuff that like I never would be able to do this time last year, and just like expose myself to more stuff so that there's less avoidance, because something that makes anxiety worse is avoiding things. Like avoiding triggers makes anxiety worse in the long run. So being more exposed to things has like helped because now my brain just doesn't let me get escalated really anymore. Like have I a couple times since taking it? Yes, but then I've had to take like one Xanax instead of like sometimes I'd have to take a higher dose of my Xanax before, like this time last year when I was taking like 4 pills a day, which for me, I my dose is 2.25 milligrams, then I can go up from there depending on how many I need. It's like an as needed medicine. So yeah, before I was having to take like a ton to like bring it back down, and now it's just like it doesn't let me spike, and like I can stay more mindful, I can stay like more present, like it's super helpful. So yeah, like it doesn't stop the anxious thoughts because anxious thoughts still happen, and I still have an anxious personality, but I don't get hooked on them, and I don't focus, and I don't ruminate as much. I'm on a clinical study using ACT for disordered eating. It's been interesting, although I much prefer my therapist. She does EMDR, interpersonal process therapy. Yeah, so ACT is fun for everything, but yeah, EMDR is really good too for like trauma stuff, and all the therapies are really good, honestly. But there's very few therapies that I'm like too, because they're all like really interesting. Like even some of the like psychoanalytic stuff is like super interesting. I like more like Jungian shadow work type stuff than anything like Freud stupid. Like I don't really agree with that kind of stuff, but more like newer versions of psychoanalytic is interesting. But yeah, like disordered eating stuff, there's so many different therapies that like are really helpful for that. What's one of the hardest parts about ACT for people? Is it not knowing what their values even are? I imagine it's more trial and error too. Yeah, it's kind of a mix. So I think the things with a lot of these like behavioral therapies like CBT or ACT or DBT is that it sounds at its core like so simple, and people are like, oh, so I just have to stop thinking what I'm thinking. I'm like, no, like it's not like that simple. Like I walk you through it, but you're challenging a lot of your thoughts. You're accepting things that like, so the thing that I love about ACT that people have a hard time with is that basically no thought or behavior in ACT is seen as a negative or a positive thing. Like it's all neutral. Like anything has the potential to either be helping you move towards the person you want to be or helping you move away from the person you want to be. Again, it's very like neutral language. And I think people have a hard time because they have so many, like our society has so many biases about that and so many like, this thing is bad. And it's like, well, under that circumstance, yes, it's bad. And there's a lot of behaviors that would be bad under like most circumstances, but like you can, again, it's more like toward in a way, it's less judgmental. And this is obviously in a mental health context, not about people's like actual, like I'm not seeing people that are like rapists, you know what I mean? But like people that are normal, like good people, like a normal person. Because you see, even like you'll say good, and it's like, what is a good person? So like it's much more like cerebral in that way for people sometimes, and they're like, most people at their core, the sort of like problem they have is that most people's core beliefs are about them as a person and something negative about them as a person. Like I'm a bad person, no one loves me, I'm unlovable. Like these are most people's like core beliefs. So to say that their thoughts like that aren't necessarily a bad or negative thought and just something that we need to like change and accept and morph a bit, that can be very like, what for people? And it's not that simple, obviously. Like I'm boiling it down to like the simplest thing. There's so many parts of this. But I think that can be hard. And there is something to be said for like, sometimes people, it's hard for them to determine like, who do I want to be as a person? Like, what are my values? I mean, I think when you make someone sit down and think about it, they're able to better. But like, I think most people throughout their days don't think of it like, who do you want to be as a person? And not like as a job, and not in relation to what society wants you to be and to what you think you should be. What do you, without the shoulds, who do you want to be as a person? That's huge. And once like you figure that out, like it can be, then it's easier to make decisions, in my opinion, to be like, okay, like just something as easy as like, I don't know, like texting your ex, for example. Like if you want to be a person, and say like you want to be a person who surrounds themselves with people who are like good for you and intelligent and whatever. Let's say that your ex is dumb and abusive. Then it's very easy in that context to be like, texting them would move me away from the person that I want to be. Where if you don't think about it that way, you're kind of like, well, I want the dopamine of like getting attention from this person. And like there's all these other factors that will swirl in. But when you boil it down to like, is this behavior going to move me toward or away from who I want to be as a person and the life I want to lead and the values I want to have, then it becomes very simple. But obviously it's not as simple as that. Like, there's still other things that are like become a factor. But I think it helps. I don't know. I love it. Like if you guys are interested in learning about ACT as like a consumer, as like an individual, there's a book called, I think it's called The Happiness Trap. And that is a book about ACT and ACT principles for non-therapists. Because there's plenty of like therapy books that you can get like as a therapist to learn about it. But this is stuff that is used like layman's terms are used for it. So that's me going on a tangent about ACT for 10 minutes. Do you get to pick up what to do your CEUs on, or does the place you work for decide? I pick, which is great. My place does provide some. So like that we do bi-monthly trainings. We're doing one on trauma right now, which has been like a year-long training. from like the leading trauma expert in Chicago. We actually had one yesterday, training. So we get CEUs for that, but then all my CEUs, like I pick. And like, I want to be eventually certified in ACT, like, because you don't have to be certified in something to necessarily do it, but to be like, to advertise that you're an expert in that, you have to be certified. So I want to get like full certifications on ACT. So like I get to choose to do that. I choose the conferences I want to go to. And yeah, so like, and everyone in my practice sort of has like a different specialty. Like one woman works with a lot of kids. One woman does a lot of like sports medicine therapy stuff. One woman, it's all women in my practice, which is, it's a very like women dominated field. But one woman does couples like exclusively and does a certain kind of couples therapy. So yeah, and there's some people that just are like generalists, but a lot of us have like a niche, and then we can do the trainings that we want to, which is nice. What was another career you wanted to pursue? I've really been on the mental health path for like years at this point, and I haven't really wanted to do anything else. But part of me want to do like party planning, like party and event planning and like wedding planning. Like your girl can throw a party. I'm a Leo sun. So like I am about it. So I can see myself like when I retire, like being like a part-time wedding planner or something, because I'm really good at like planning themed parties, like creating an aesthetic, especially using other people's money. That's great. And just like doing that. So that would be my like fallback plan. I'm trying to think of any other career that I would like maybe want to do. That's like pretty much it. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a marine biologist, but then I discovered how much chemistry I'd have to do, and I stopped. I'm not going to buy the PS5 until Cyberpunk. Same. Like, same. That's exactly how I feel. I feel so drained as a patient after an hour session. I can't imagine therapists doing that for 6 hours back to back. Yeah. I do a lot of like, I work in my office is in the basement right now, but I do a lot of like running upstairs and like going outside and grounding myself in the grass when it's nice out. And then going back down to like just kind of drain some of the energy out. But yeah, it can be intense. Thankfully, I don't have a lot of like crisis clients. So like, I don't have a lot of like high suicidality or anything that's happening. But like most of my patients have a trauma history. Most of my patients have an abuse history. And I think most people do, honestly, of some kind. So yeah, there's difficult days. According to Google, the average pay in the US for mental health professionals is $85,000, which seems high compared to people I know in the field. Yeah, I think that gets skewed because so mental health professionals, like there are PhDs and like PsyDs in that category, and they do get paid a lot more, unlike psychiatrists. And they do get paid a lot more. Which skews our results because yeah, your girl's not making that much money like at all. I wish. Actually, that's like kind of the peak that I feel like I could make as like a really, really experienced, like 20 years into the field therapist who like niches in a particular kind of like treatment. I would say 85 is like, that's probably my like height of what I could make. But like people that are, again, psychiatrists, PsyDs, psychologists that are like specifically like doing more, like medication management is like psychiatry and stuff like that. I think they skew our results because yeah, most people are making like under 50, I'd say. Can I give you a good Halloween rec? It's called Lockwood and Company by Jonathan Stroud. I feel like I've heard about that one. I feel. Would love a series where you read a couple new releases and get your thoughts on whether they're worth the read. I would love to do that too. However, I feel like I don't get to books that fast. Like I want to, but just, sort of like I watch some beauty gurus and I would love to do like, first impressions, sort of like beauty gurus do of like new releases, but I don't tend to get to them like right away like that. But maybe in the future I could do that. Have you played any League of Legends? It's on PC. I haven't played League. I don't like MMOs. I'm like not necessarily good at video games. Like I like video games, but I'm not like good. Like the only like MMO type thing that I want to play is maybe like Overwatch, which I have played a few times, but I'm not good. So I'd rather play like PvE, like versus environment than versus other people because other people are better than me and then I just die and that's not fun at all. What is this September book for House Salt? September is Son of a Trickster by I don't know the name right now, but you can Google it. It's an Indigenous Canadian author, and it's like an Indigenous own voices story, fantasy about tricksters. Ooh, would love to see a reading booktuber's favorite books video. Yeah, I could probably do that. I should find somebody who, like, a lot of the books that they love are already on my shelves. I do like those videos. Um, but yeah, I would actually like love to do. You know who I'd love to do? I would love to do Peace Love Books, her favorite like romances, because I'm so like, I'm like a romance newbie in comparison to her. I would totally do like Jess's favorite books. I should maybe do that. But she probably has like so many. I'm sure she has a video on her favorite romances, but she probably has it broken into like by genre. And we don't necessarily have the same taste. That's why it would be interesting, because like her and I sometimes overlap, but she reads a lot more genres within romance than I do. So that's, I think, why it would be fun. How has it been moving BookNet Fest online, aside from the obvious suckiness of not being together in real life? It's been okay. I will admit Mari's done like the majority of the work for it, because now with my work, like I don't have any free time like during the day to do stuff. And she's a Virgo. So she's been like just doing it all. And I'm like, Mari, can I do something? And she's like, I got it. I'm like, okay. So a lot of the stuff that I do for the event anyway is on the front end, and then like right at the event, because I do a lot of like the sponsorship stuff and like outreach that way, and like marketing and some of that stuff. And then like we brainstorm on like topic stuff and like stuff we want to do. And I do the prom, like I do a lot of the prom stuff, and like social events, and we just do a lot of like brainstorming together. And then she does some of the like technical like writing aspects. She did some of our graphics this year, because I'm not it. So yeah, so she's done a lot of it. And then because she has the podcast experience, she's handled a lot of that. But then we both do the like hosting of the panels and stuff. So yeah, it's been like a lot. But it's been okay, because we both knew how to handle it and take it online, and deciding to do it over a month, which was originally my idea, and I'm so glad that I thought of it, was a great idea, because we were both like dreading having it over like a weekend. We were like, we don't want to. That sounds not fun at all. That does not have the kind of engagement that we want. Like, no. And then when we were like, let's do like a month, let's make it into a podcast for the panels. Let's have like a different little event sprinkled in. We were both like, yes, this is the solution. So yeah, it's not ideal. I hope it's never going to have to happen again, but we're making it work. I love how your lives always become low-key therapy sessions. Same. Like that is just what ends up happening. Most anticipated release for the last half of the year, probably Deadly Education by Naomi Novik, which is coming out. I mean, also Silver Serpents I'm pretty excited about. Most of my most anticipated, I did a video recently on my most anticipated. Most of my ones that I'm like so highly anticipating are coming out like in the fall. They're all like in that video. Because I don't think there's anything in winter that I'm like super hype about. I don't think so. Like most books don't come out in December. So I think everything is in that video about what's coming up. But yeah, Deadly Education, Silver Serpents. September is a good month for stuff. Congrats on the job and welcome back to the Midwest. I'm super late here, but I mean it. Thanks. Have you bought any fall clothes boots yet? Favorite pieces? I bought some sweaters the other day, but they're mostly for work. I did get some things from like a minimalist Etsy shop that don't, it's not that they don't fit, because they do fit, but like the neck hole in one of them is really tight, which makes it like super awkward, because I have to like squish my hair to put it on, and that sucks. But it has like some really cool cutouts and stuff. But otherwise, I haven't gotten a ton of like fall clothes. I do want to get some new boots. I wear like sorrel boots in like the fall and winter like a ton, and I love them. But I want a pair of like lace-up ones, not like Docs, but like everyday, almost looks like it's hiking. Like I want some probably sorrel again boots that look kind of like that, and sort of have like the almost like the sock that you can like fold over, like I want that look. So I need to get some of those, but I haven't seen a ton of like fall clothes that I'm really digging yet. So I'm still keeping my eye out. And then, like in stores, you can't try anything on. right now. So that hasn't been super helpful. But I've been trying to look at my Pinterest boards of what my style is, because I know what my style is, and then try to replicate some of those outfits. Because for the longest time I was like, oh, I'm not going to. But then because I was like, well, these aren't like, this is not my body type, like, because most people on Pinterest are like super skinny. And then I started seeing a lot of like mid-sized TikTokers, because I am like kind of mid-sized. People have some like ideas about that, because they're like, why not just say that you're plus size? But I'm not. I'm between plus size and like a straight size, so like I'm mid-size. I think it's a helpful thing to like be able to search people mid-size and find people like that are similar to my body type. Anyway, I've seen some mid-sized creators recreating Pinterest outfits, and I'm like, yes, it's possible. Just do it. So I'm trying to do more of like finding pieces that I've liked for years and finding them in a mid-size. So it's a goal. I'm really bad about shopping for clothes, though. Hello. Do you also have your own therapist as someone who does the same job? Hell yes. Basically, don't trust your therapist if they don't go to therapy. Like, that is fully what I believe. Kind of the same way as, like, if your doctor doesn't go to the doctor, like, if your doctor doesn't have a primary care physician, like, what the fuck? Like, so, yeah, I would never trust a therapist that doesn't go to therapy, like, ever. And I'm not saying that everyone has to go, like, weekly. I go bi-weekly at this point, every other. Because like my stuff is pretty managed, but like a lot of therapists that I know go monthly, just like a check-in. Therapists need to go to therapy, especially if you're working in like a field that is like intense. It's needed. And then in addition to, most therapists get supervision. So like I get supervision from another therapist at my job to like talk about cases. That needs to happen. Like, so that's all its own other thing. Just telling barking at something. Eden Robinson is the author of Son of a Trickster. Thank you, Emily. Tally. Hi, Jordan. I would love I read 3 specifically books with the words woods in the title, like foresty vibes. I'm writing it down. I read 3 foresty books. I can do that. Do I have 3 Foresty Woods books on my shelf, though? I think I have at least 1. I've read a lot of those recently, actually, though. I'm so entertained that you have moved into the romance genre. Yeah, it's a great time. Oh my god, Silver Serpents was so good. I was the one that bugged you on Twitter asking if you read it yet. Yeah, I've just been, I put it off for a long time, which is really stupid. But I just like, I think it's mostly because I wanted to reread The Gilded Wolves before I read Silver Serpents. And I was trying to get through my TBR before I reread The Gilded Wolves. So I just like kept putting it off. But I'm excited. I'm going to read it after I finish my current book. I buy all my sweaters 2 sizes too big, so luckily I don't have to try them on. Yeah, I also buy them at least like 1 size too big usually. But there's still like some sweaters, because I am like more hourglass, so I have the smaller waist. Some sweaters, when they're like super, super boxy, like just don't look good on me, because your girl has like shoulders and then like a butt. Like, so I'm like, if I just wear like a boxy sweater that looks really good on some people, like if you have like no hips or like really long legs, that the boxy sweaters look like super good, that looks horrible on me, because it just makes me look like I'm a straight line, and I'm not. So like I have to be a little bit careful about that. But it's okay with like some of the high-waisted pants, and I can tuck it in, whatever. But this season is way better for me not having to try on clothes. Summer and spring, like I feel like I need to try stuff on to really get a feel for it. But I've been getting some stuff from Target. Like I got some more clothes from Target. I'm looking at them because they're right over there. The other day, I just need to take one thing back because one skirt like didn't work. But otherwise, it's been easy enough to find stuff. Are you able to talk to your therapist about your patients? So yes. So the way that works is like, I will never, so when I talk to my own therapist, or when I talk to like my supervisor, I just use non-identifying information, and you talk more in like general themes. Like I would say, I have a client who's dealing with suicidality, blah, 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 blah. And not like, here's directly what they said. You know what I mean? And I won't be saying like, this is who they are, or like descriptors or anything like that. So talking about people in like a very neutral way. And it's less about like them and more about like how their experience has like maybe affected me, or like what I'm struggling with about them, as far as like how to help them. Or like really with my own therapist, I talk more about like imposter syndrome than actual like patients, well, clients, they call them clients in like therapy. I talk more about like, I just think that I actually suck. And she's like, you don't. Like, and like, you know, the fear of like not being able to help somebody and like kind of coming to terms with that. Or like, yeah, I don't talk a ton about work with my own therapist. Like I will sometimes, but my own stuff is like, my own therapy tends to be like my own therapy. I talk more about clients with like my own supervisor, because that's like what it's for. It's like processing, like, here's what's going on with like this one client and whatever. But it's still all in a way that maintains confidentiality. There's no way to identify like anybody by what I'm saying. Have you read Serpent and Dove? I haven't. That's one of the books that I mentioned that in my like books I will or will not read about like really hyped booktube books. I did it like 6 months ago. But that's a book that is so polarizing. Like even on that video, I talked about a ton of books that are like pretty hyped, and people had like so many thoughts, positive and negative, on that book. Like either people like hate it or love it, and there's like no in between. And those books are always kind of hard for me to read, because I'm just like, oh, like either way, people are gonna get like mad at me, you know? Like, so I'm just kind of like, I don't want to. It's a book that's definitely like on my radar, and I would read. I'm just like not in a rush to, but I can see myself doing it eventually. So I haven't seen you talk about nonfiction. Do you read it? Are you reading more professional stuff? Do you have preferences or recs? So I don't read a ton of nonfiction. I do. So like, it's funny is I read some like nonfiction before bed, but I read professional stuff. So yeah, I'll read like therapy books, books about like just therapy in general. Like there's a book by Yalom that's like Gift for New Therapists. Like I read like therapy stuff, or I read witch books, which I believe is nonfiction. Some people would say that that's not nonfiction, you know, like based on your belief system, which is whatever, it's cool. But like those are like the nonfiction stuff that I read. And I do my videos on the witchy books on my other channel, because I don't want to put that on my current channel. Like I just don't want to. I just don't feel like it overlaps super well. Even though I know a lot of you like are fine with witchy stuff. It's just something I want to keep separate. So the witchy books I read like before bed. So basically before bed I'll read like either a little bit of a witch book or a like therapy book, and then I'll read like a little bit of my romance book, and then I'll go to bed. So I don't read fantasy or sci-fi in bed. Well, for a video idea, what about a 5-year or whatever length of time wrap-up stats video to see how your reading has changed over the years? I could probably do that. I feel like I did a video like similar to that. I think I said in that video that if you don't like Sarah J. Maas, you won't like Serpent and Dove. And like, see, so, and that's the thing too, like, I don't like Throne of Glass, and I didn't like the first book in ACOTAR, but I loved ACOMAF, you know? So like, and it's witches, and like, hate to love. So I don't know, like, I really don't know how I'm gonna feel about it, which is why, like, I don't know. Have you watched any anime that you've loved? I finally got caught up on One Piece after starting it 2 years ago. I also recently found a favorite Netflix called Seven Deadly Sins. I used to watch anime. I haven't in years, just because like I don't have time to watch TV. I'm trying to watch The Umbrella Academy, and I've watched like 2 episodes of second season. I'm gonna watch it, but the second season I've only watched like 2 episodes. I just don't have time. But I used to watch, I watched Cowboy Bebop. I used to love Bleach. I never finished it, but I loved Bleach. I watched Tenchi in Tokyo and Tenchi Universe. Loved. I used to draw those characters on my binder in like 7th grade. I watched the original Sailor Moon, not the whole thing, but it would be on, I think, either before or after Tenchi, so I'd catch it. I watched a little bit of Cardcaptor, because Cardcaptor came on like after they ended, I feel like it was after they ended Sailor Moon on like, was it Cartoon Network? Adult Swim, whatever it was. No, it was called Anime. What was that called? I forget. There was a. I'm trying to. I can like see the icon. For when they like would the where they would always play anime like back in the like late 90s, early 2000s. And then what else did I watch? Is that it? I haven't watched a lot of the super big ones. Like I never watched like Fullmetal Alchemist, although like I know it's really popular. I never watched like Naruto, um, or some of those. Like I was just big on the Tenchi. Toonami! That's what it was. Yeah, yes. Yeah, I loved it. I mean, I used to video record that on VHS. Like, that's how old. Yeah, if you guys watch Tenchi, the character I used to draw all the time, I'm pretty sure their name was Ryoko. I'm pretty sure that she had like spiky hair. I'm pretty sure she was a demon. Loved her. Just if that tells you anything. I really should try to find some old Tenchi episodes and like watch them now. Because I don't know how I'd feel about them now. I haven't been able to read Serpent and Dove yet because it's French inspired and two characters are called Coco and Babette. Why would you call them Baguette and Fromage? That is so funny. Oh my god. Would you still recommend Kiss of Deception? I have it in my shelves, but I'm worried it hasn't aged well. I think it probably has aged well. I reread them like right before the last book came out, and I do think those books are good still. I think. I could be wrong. Because like no, I think they're good. Because like I'm able to tell that like I know that Shadow and Bone, like the Shadow and Bone trilogy, is like not peak literature. I love it, but I know that like it hasn't aged well for a lot of people. I don't feel the same way about Kiss of Deception. Like I think it is still good. There's a chance that you still won't like it just because you never would have liked it, but I think it's still good. I don't like the Dance of Thieves one, like the stuff that's come out since then, but I think the original trilogy is still good. So Tenchi is a throwback. I know. Oh, Gundam Wing. It's so funny. So I like went on a couple dates with a guy in Delaware before I left that was like obsessed with Gundam. And it had like Gundam figurines. And that should have been like a hint. Like so I, I have this phenomenon. I've talked about this before on like Instagram and stuff. I know the kind of straight men that will be into me, you know, like the Gundam like model people, the board gamers, the D&D players, the super nerds. I know they'll like me, but do I like them? Because if a guy has like a whole house decorated in like figurines, it ain't it. You know, I'm like, I love that you have a hobby. I do. Like, I don't judge people like as a friend for their hobbies, but I don't feel like I could have a romantic partner that has a Gundam collection. And is that wrong? Because I have a plant collection, but plants feel better. I'm taking care of something. You know, again, like I could have friends that have Gundam collections. It's not the collecting. It's the having a romantic partner that does it. Not out of other people's judgment, completely out of my own judgment. like I'm like, there's something about. I was talking to Sarah Jane about this. There's something about. Here's me going on a rant about men. I always in these sessions. I always talk about witchy stuff. And religion usually comes up. It'll come up at some point, I'm sure. Therapy and mental health, and dating. Those are the three things that come up the most. But we were talking about like there's something weird about being in our 30s because we're both in our 30s and having guys that now have the money to invest in their nerdy hobbies, but you're like, you're 30. Like, not that you shouldn't have nerdy hobbies. I will still always have nerdy hobbies. I'm a nerd. Obviously, I'm on this. But like, I don't want my house decorated in Star Wars. You know, like I also went on a date with a guy that had like an entire Star Wars decorated home. He had his own house. I get that. I get that he bought his own house. However, his whole bathroom was decorated in Star Wars memorabilia. He had a Star Wars shower curtain. He had a Star Wars light switch. He had a Star Wars soap dispenser. And I'm just like, that's fine if you're my friend. I can't respect it if I'm dating you. Because I'm like, why haven't you? It's weird because like I still have nerdy hobbies. They're not my personality. That's the thing. Is people who would now have the money to make things their entire personality. No. I have a multidimensional, multifaceted personality. Do I have obsessions? Yes. I have a lot of crystals. I have a lot of books. I have a lot of, houseplants. I get that. I have many hobbies. It's the one thing that too much money goes to that bothers me. That was a whole thing because of Gundam. I'm so sorry. Um, how much prepping do you have to do for a therapy session, or do you just let the client take the lead? A bit of both. So, especially right now when I'm feeling imposter syndrome, I definitely do a lot more like research kind of between, like, especially if somebody's dealing with something specific. Like, I have a client right now who is a teenager that's struggling with lying, and they want to stop lying so much. But I'm looking more at things about like teen lying, because obviously working with a teenager is very different than working with an adult, because they have certain things about their like life that aren't under their control so much. So I look into stuff more specifically about that. I have, like I mentioned before, I have a guy that has tinnitus, the ear ringing. So there's specific techniques for doing CBT with people that have that. So like I do that kind of stuff. I do a lot of like just general reading. Like I'm doing a lot of research on ACT, that kind of therapy between sessions. So I don't try to do too much, because also I could do all this prep for something specific that they mentioned last session, and then they come in and that could be like totally not an issue anymore, or like something else happened, and then I do all this prep work outside of session for like something specific. I do the more prep work when it becomes like a bigger issue. Like if someone is, this is more challenging because we don't tend to work with this as much, but if someone's like having an affair and like kind of dealing with like recovering from like a relationship betrayal, like something more thematic, I will do more research on, because it's likely to come up a lot. But I try not to do stuff on like specific things too much, because yeah, the client takes the lead in any session. I know you don't like MMOs, but you ever tried Final Fantasy 14 online? I didn't do Final Fantasy 14. I did play Elder Scrolls Online for a little while, and I really liked it. My Cowboy Bebop fixation was intense. Oh, the music. It's so freaking good. And someone just posted that it was like the 20-year anniversary of it or something recently. Crazy. What are your thoughts on Addie LaRue coming out? I usually dislike most things by this author, but I'm intrigued by the synopsis, so I had to pre-order it. I am going to read it. I also tend to be like so hit and miss with Victoria Schwab. I did talk about this in my anticipated releases video, but yeah, it's a synopsis that really appeals to me. I would read it no matter who it was by, so I'm going to try it, even though I don't trust her like at all. Ooh, would love a live read with me in a vibey, planty, witchy setting. I will do that when I move, like for sure. I'm gonna write that down though. Live read with me, planty, witchy setting. Yeah, because my next apartment, I mean, my last apartment was already getting pretty good, but my next apartment is gonna be like such a vibe. Like I know, it's just gonna be witchy. Like it's just gonna be so good, because now that I've fully embraced my witchness, I'm gonna go hard. Like, and not in like the Halloween witch, like in the like witch's cottage, green witch, fortune telling vibe. So I'm more invested in your job than my own at this point. Thank you. I think the problem is that many of these guys who are like that are like the worst kinds of fans, the well actually guys of fandom, not always but often. Yes. If someone makes like a fandom or a hobby like their entire life, like that is, they're usually going to be that way. Particularly men. It's just like, it's just a thing. Again, I have like a ton of hobbies, so I don't get like douchey about anything. I don't think I'm a douche. I think I would know. I'm very self-aware when I'm being like that. But yeah, like I don't get gatekeepy or weird about like any of my hobbies. So yeah, it's like if a person is decorating their entire house, like even I have like a very small fandom wall in my apartment, like when I have it. And even then I'm like, ooh, do I even want to hang that much fan art up? Because I don't want to send a message to anyone that comes over that I'm that person. Ooh, I finished The Bear and the Nightingale and loved it. Nice. Ooh, Hi, Sam. I absolutely adore you and what you do. I know you've spoken about your Patreon and passing in a couple of videos. I was wondering if you can speak on it a bit more. Yeah, like what do you want to, I guess I can just kind of give you an overview of what it is. So Patreon is a like additional platform for people who enjoy my content that want to like financially contribute to it. And it sounds like really skeezy when you say it that way, but it's more like a tipping and then you get additional content from me. And additional content for me is like, it's not like additional videos, although I'm thinking about doing that in the future potentially. But like my Patreon supporters all get to be part of a Discord, a Patreon Discord group, which is fun. Like no matter how much you support me with, you get access to that. And so like we talk in there, we do group reads together. We talk about like our reading goals. We talk just in general, like people, like even if I'm not like talking on there constantly, like they're all like friendly with each other on there. So if you want like a community that you know you would like because you enjoy my vibe, like my Patreon community is really cool. They're really awesome. And so you can like meet people through there. Like I would say that most people and people, there's people in here that are part of the Patreon community that could talk about it a little bit too in the chat. So there's that. They get to vote in polls every month for books that I'll read or videos that I'll do. So every month on Twitter, I ask Twitter for like numbers, and then I go to my shelves and I pick out the books, and then Patreon gets to vote on the actual books in that poll. So there's that, and then every month I put up video topics, and they vote on which one they want me to do or like prioritize. Sometimes I do a couple of them, but like that one for sure gets done. And then I'm renaming this, and we talked about it last Patreon live stream. My like Patreon VIP is basically I put everyone's name in a hat, depending on their like tier level. And then I pick randomly, I do a random number generator, and that person gets to pick any book on my TBR for me to read. Like any, like not even just the ones that are in the poll, like any book, and they can tell me to read that, and then I read it. And then every month I do Patreon only live streams like this, so it's like even more personal than this, which is fun. And then we usually buddy read the book that they picked as well. And then I'll be doing something, so around the holidays when I do like my holiday videos, you know, like Vlogmas and stuff, they get to like pick from numerous videos for me to do, and like I prioritize those. And then I'm probably going to do something special for around like Christmas, Yule, whatever you celebrate. I'll do something for that. And then I have done like special offers where like the last one I did was people got like a half-hour unhaul consultation session with me. So that was cool. So I got to like, you know, do like a video chat one-on-one with somebody about like unhauling to help them unhaul books. Yeah, so I'm always adding like stuff to there. They also get like the first update on if I'm going to go live. They just get like perks and stuff, and we like talk more on there, and they're like my closest knit community. So if you want to have like more influence on my content and like be more involved in it and stuff, and like give me, you know, like I reached out to them first about like, hey, what kind of videos do you guys want to see? And like they have more like input because they're just more closely involved with me, you know? So yeah, that's Patreon. I cannot even tell you how many times I have to stop myself and go, Kayla, Wizard of Oz is not a personality or other obsession here. Yeah, right? Like, I mean, I'm pretty good about it because I have a variety of different, like, personality, like, you know, hobbies and stuff. But yeah, people that make their hobby like a whole thing, I'm like, ooh, walk it back. Walk it back. Was just the bathroom Star Wars, or was it the whole house? I could excuse indulging in the room, but the whole house eek. So the bathroom was the only part that was like fully Star Wars, but then the rest of the house also had stuff. So I think the whole living room was Marvel, which again, like I'm okay with people. I don't know. Fandom houses are like a line for me. Like if your whole house is fandom of some kind, I'm like, please stop. And then like his bedroom, which like I didn't spend much time in, thankfully, was like his favorite band. So he was also. I hope he's not watching. Like I'm always get nervous that like people that I went on a date with are gonna like find me. He was also like a music nerd, which was another part of his whole personality. Like all his personality was just an amalgamation of all the things that he loved, which I get happens, but like I need a more complex person than that. So he like his whole bedroom was like his favorite band. I don't want to be snotty. I'm so sorry. And then like he did have his own like adult arcade, which would be cool. But like that's the thing is like these are things that would be like so cool when you were like a teenager, and if you're like 30 and above, I'm kind of like, oh, like for me, he will find a great woman that like loves it, you know, that is just like, I want to sleep in Marvel bed sheets, and like that's fine. It's just not me, and that's okay. I don't have a reading journal. The only journal I really use is my like Book of Shadows. I don't even call it a Book of Shadows. I call it like my like witchy notebook. That's like the only journal I use right now. Have you tried Persona 5? No, but it is on my list of games to play. I have so many fucking video games I need to play, and I don't know when I'm gonna play them. But I have so many. Have you considered reading the Love Me with Lies series by Taryn Fisher? I have not even heard of that, but I would look into it. I mean, I'm down for angst all the time. Thanks for the Devouring Grey Rec. Almost done with Deck of Omens, and it's great too. I'm glad you're liking it, Amy. Yeah, I like really like that. I would love to read Deck of Omens in October, to be honest. But I shouldn't buy new books because I just got all those books for my birthday. But I'm kind of like, that's the perfect time of year to read it, though. So maybe I'll do that. I don't know. Are you familiar with the Sound Mind Center in West Philly? If you're forced to stay here, Google it. Sound Mind Center. I believe that I have in West Philly. I believe that I have heard of that. But I never went there when I lived in Philly. But I believe that I've heard of that. How do you deal with creepy comments online? Like not when they're hateful or mean, just creepy and weird. I don't get a ton. I think my spam filter like just gets them. And then I have gotten like a few like Instagram DMs that have been just kind of like, what? And I just delete them. Creepy stuff doesn't tend to bother me a ton unless someone just like kept coming at me with it. I think I would get a lot more creepy things on Goodreads, but I don't check my Goodreads messages anymore. I haven't in years. Your girl has like thousands of messages on there, and I put on my profile so people see like, hey, I don't check this. So if you've ever messaged me on Goodreads, I've never seen it. I don't check it because a lot of people were using that as like a weird dating app, and like men were messaging all the time like weird stuff, and I don't know why they think that that's a good idea. So yeah, I do not use Goodreads Messenger anymore. As you have your dream job now, do you have any big life goals that you could share with us? What are my, I mean, besides like moving into my own apartment again, which is like not really a life goal because like I know it'll happen, so I don't really consider it like a life goal. I do want to travel more and do a lot of the national forests in the United States. So I want to go to like Sequoia National Forest, like Green Mountain, some of these other places, and just like spend more time in forests where I am most happy. So that's like a big life goal. This is more like vague and you can't really make it a goal, but like I do want to acknowledge that like I do want to find a life partner. Like that is a like goal, but it's not a goal because like I only have so much impact on that. You know what I mean? So like I'm not somebody that's like, I want to do that like this year. It's like, well, I don't have a choice in that matter. But like it is something that like I am seeking in my life, you know? Let's see what else life goal wise. I do want to get like want to get fully licensed. I want to get like certified in ACT. And probably Gottman. The Gottman method is a couples therapy method. If I continue to want to see couples, I would get certified in Gottman or EFT, which is emotionally focused therapy. A lot of my like big life goals are all focused on work because I'm an ambitious Slytherin bitch. It's just my nature. What other goals? Like yeah, a lot of just like travel stuff. Like I want to go see Sarah Jane. I want to go to the Black Forest. I mean, I've talked a ton on here before about like different places I want to visit. Other life goals. I want to get my retirement fund like really in a good spot. A lot of it's just like adult stuff. I would love to pay down my student loans, but that's like never going to happen. So I'm not even thinking about it. That's the big stuff. I definitely want to move into my new place whenever I get that place and like make it just be a haven. It was like so close to being that way when I had my last apartment. So I'm hoping that I can make that happen. Other big life goals. It's funny because the last few months I haven't really been doing my, I have a bullet journal. And I haven't done my bullet journaling about goal setting because it feels like I can't do that right now. With everything going on. So like I haven't been thinking about my goals as much as I used to. Oh, I've gotten back into lap swimming recently. I used to be a competitive swimmer when I was a child up until like middle school. And I would love to get back to being like bomb at that. So that's a life goal. Is that it? Those are the big things, I think. I'm a pathetic Stevie Nicks fan. The oldies are frightening. You want to talk about obsessive? I'm the weird hippie mama. I like love that though. Like Stevie Nicks is like such a vibe, you know. I think that's fine. Like there's something about like I'm really into like because that's an aesthetic in my opinion. Like someone having like a nerdy aesthetic is fine. It's an obsessive personality where that's their whole personality that it's not fine. But like someone like I feel like I have like a nerdy witchy aesthetic because I have nerdy witchy hobbies. But like no one would look at me and just say that I'm like I don't know, obsessive. Maybe some people would. But yeah. Patreon community is very awesome and supportive. Love the space Sam has created for us. Thanks, Julie. My obsessions are horses. Everything is better with a horse for me. Are you like a horse person? I don't want to misgender you, but are you? Because I used to like when I was younger, I would have been a horse girl, but my dad wouldn't let me ride horses. So like for a while, I collected. This is so funny. I don't know if I've ever said this on a video. I used to collect the horse like figurines. So there's a certain brand, and I'm forgetting it now, that makes like toy horses, but they're also collectible, and people will put them into dioramas and compete in shows about these horses. I know. And I wanted to do it as a child because it was the only way for me to be like down with the horses. So I only had a few of them. I never ended up competing or being in diorama because I outgrew it very quickly after that happened because I discovered it late in my childhood. But since my dad wouldn't let me ride horses because he didn't want me to be one of those little girls that gets paralyzed, he like read a lot of horror stories about horses. So I could never ride them. I had horse stuff. I had like horse blankets and like horse things, but I never was like around horses. It was a tragedy. Themed rooms should only exist in The Sims. Yes. The rooms in my house are themed. My husband and I like it, but I guess it's not for everyone. And that's fine. You like, see, like, yeah, it's just like not my aesthetic. And like my friends having themed rooms are like not a problem. Like I have friends that have like Harry Potter rooms and stuff. It's purely like a romantic partner thing for me. Or I'm just like, I can't. Probably because like I wouldn't want to have a house with themed rooms and they would want to. And I'd be like, I want to gouge my own eyes out. Even if somebody wanted to have a Mass Effect themed living room, I'd probably still be like, no. No. I would love to have like I really like fandom art that you can't really tell is fandom art, especially if it's not mixed in with other fandom things. So like maps of fantastical locations, those like artistic movie posters of like locations, like you know, like Winterfell and like Rivendell and like some of those things. Like I really like those kinds of like art things or just stuff that's like you have to pay attention to notice. But if somebody wanted to deck out the whole living room like the Normandy, as cool as in my head, I'm like, that is cool. But I'd be like, no, because it's not like comfortable. I think it's something about like a comfort thing for me. Like my space, I really like being like aesthetic comfort, cozy, and fandom doesn't feel comfort to me. You know, like fandom does not have that comfort vibe. It's like a media vibe. So that's why I don't like it, I think. And so that's why when a romantic partner has that, I'm like, no. No. Because I don't want to fight about my space. I want them like I'm okay with somebody like mixing different kinds of interior design aesthetics with me, like that's fine. But if that aesthetic is fandom, like that can't mix with anything else. Like you can't make that integrate properly. And I'm so like my space is so important to me that it would drive me bonkers. I was trying to join your witchy Discord through your older streams, but the invitation has expired. Ooh, I'll post it. Discord. I know that like now if you're watching the stream right now, you might not be able to access it because it'll be in the chat. But come on, Discord. There we go. How do I invite? There we go. chat? There we go. Okay. Ooh, I just joined, but I'm finishing up the audiobook of Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I am interested in that book a lot. What are your thoughts of Becky Albertalli forced to come out, or readers criticizing authors of LGBTQ plus books? Sorry if you've already talked about this. I just joined. I haven't talked about it yet. I was very annoyed to see the backlash against her, because, and basically the backlash I saw, like, against the backlash was all, like, I think more people support her than not, you know? But some of the very loud Gabby Dunn people that were being like, why do you write in a queer space when you're not queer? Like, the lack, it's the lack of, you know, common sense and awareness for me. Just like, no one should have to out themselves. Like, and this is true of like anything invisible. No one should have to out their, you know, their disability, their sexuality, their like gender if they are not out about that. Like, none of that should have to be a thing. And I think that's where we get really toxic about the own voices thing, is like, own voices is supposed to be a helpful tool to support the people who are, you know, of that marginalization, but it also gets really skewed and creates a lot of like, you know, borderline bullying, but I don't really want to say bullying. A lot of critique of like marginalized people because either they are like closeted, or it's like a you know, invisible illness or disability or whatever, or if they write something own voices and it's not universally appealing to someone, they're like, you did it wrong. Or if they write from a marginalization that is not their own but within the same umbrella, like if a gay person is writing a character that's bi or something, you know, like, there's so much criticism launched against them, and it's like, that's supposed to be like, that kind of tag and classification is supposed to be to help them, and now you guys are like, not you guys as in you, but like, now people are like using that to like attack them, you know? Like, it's just, yeah, it's fucked up. I'm actually not surprised that she is you know, LGBT. I don't know what her label she uses it, so I'm sorry, because I wasn't seeing that. I was only seeing the response to it. But like, I'm not shocked. I was like, I'm not shocked. So I don't know, the fact that people Gabby Dunn was basically just like jealous of her and I was like, why didn't I get the attention, is what's really annoying. But yeah, readers criticizing authors of LGBTQ plus books are just like, it is really frustrating, because it's like, I get, for a while it was like there was only a lot of LGBTQ plus books written by like straight women, for example. But again, we can't necessarily assume that they're all straight, as it's been revealed. And like, now it's not the case. Like, there is a lot of fiction out there that is written by queer people. So like, seek it out. You know what I mean? It's just really irritating when people just go after marginalized authors so much more than they ever go after anybody else. Oh, cool. The Sound Mind Center was founded using the words psychedelic psychology. I'm putting together my resume to volunteer. Awesome. I definitely have heard of that before when I lived out there. You know, like, now I'm not gonna like remember, you know, but I just heard about this new alternative to Goodreads called Storygraph. I have also heard about it. Yeah, it's still in beta. Yeah, so I've like checked out Storygraph a couple of times, but I haven't signed up. Can you sign up even if it's in beta, or is it like an invite only? Because I would totally leave Goodreads. You know how I feel. Briar horse figurines. Yes, that is it. Yes. The Siren MP3 player for the pool is a delight. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Let me write that down. Is it expensive though? I would love to swim with music. That would be so wonderful. Have you read House in the Cerulean Sea yet? I haven't, but everyone keeps talking about it. Connor's read it like 4 times. Like, is like obsessed. For a while I thought it was middle grade, which is why I kind of like steered clear. Not because it's bad, it's just not what appeals to me, you know? I have a big request, but could you change the time of streaming? You have fans all around the world. You know, it's 3 a.m. here. I know. I don't have, like, I won't stream at, you know, 8 in the morning. Like, so this is like the earliest. Like, I think I've done some streams at like 1 in the afternoon before. That's kind of like the earliest that I'll do. Otherwise, if I'm up early, I'm getting other errands done or I'm working. Like, your girl sleeps in. So yeah, like early morning streams like probably wouldn't happen. And I'm sorry about that. It's just like a time thing, you know, for me of when I can do them. Like afternoons tend to be the time that I'm most free, you know. Don't say that to me. In regards to the Black Forest, you better hurry a bit. A lot of the trees are dying right now because it's so dry and the roots don't go that deep. It's super sad. I like actually want to start crying. No. Makes me really upset. That's like my dream place. Like I just want to go there and get stolen by the Fae. I'm not exaggerating. Like, probably not the Fae because I don't like love the Fae, but some kind of mythological creature. And just disappear. Like if I go to the Black Forest and never come back, don't be surprised. I didn't die. I'm definitely not dead. I didn't do anything to harm myself. Like I left with the Fae folk completely. Oh, that makes me really upset. You guys are all laughing about the horse figurines. Is it just Phantom theme rooms that bug you? Because I feel like everyone has a sea-themed bathroom. I like it, but it's so overdone now that it bugs me. So I also don't like sea-themed bathrooms. I'm like more okay with it. I really don't like. Oh, if I see, I don't like sea like beach house themes. Coastal interior design makes me want to like throw up. I think because it's so like white mother upper middle class. Like I just hate it. Um, I get that people like you can do it kind of classy, but it's like never done classy. So I despise it. I'm like getting flashes of like the home decor that people will use for coastal homes. And there is a vibe. Like I'm sure there's Pinterests that like are beautiful, like Pinterest boards that have a coastal vibe, like coastal sea witch vibe, totally fine, right? Like cabin, I guess you don't really have cabins by like the coast, but like that, like a sea witch house, you know, witch hut by the coast, totally fine. But like that white coastal vibe, it bothers me so much. And then yeah, like I'm kind of, I'm getting like the creepy crawlies. I don't know why I don't like it either. I don't like that either, like muted color coastal bathroom or like the underwater, like you know the underwater scene on the shower curtain and like the squishy so specific, the like squishy toilet seat that has the fishes in it. um that's good for kids, like that's very good for kids, but if you're an adult like if you have that, I'm sorry if you do, it just bothers me. And like I would never tell someone to change their house, but like it bothers me. So yeah, I'm okay with like I've seen some like steampunk bathrooms that have like octopus and stuff in them, or like Cthulhu, I guess, that I'm like more fine with. I just like a cozy chic aesthetic, you know, a little bit of boho, mostly like cabin in the woods, you know. That's just the vibe I like. Yes, own voices works better in regards to race and gender sexuality, absolutely, because and like disability, because those things are all things that you can't assume where race you can, but there's still some complicated stuff with race and own voices too, because there are some like biracial people that get like questioned, you know, like it's just I wish that readers and fans like wouldn't just jump to being shitty and assume the worst in authors that are like marginalized, and they just tend to. Yes. I feel like the criticism should be on publishers for pushing non-openly owned voices over own voices. Yeah, like it is a like industry problem and not so much the authors. Ooh, maybe I will sign up for Storygraph. Nice. I'm totally gonna look into that MP3 player. By the way, that'll be awesome. Ooh, yeah, I've that's kind of what I saw from the Midnight Library, like that, because I think Matt Haig has like written other things about like depression and stuff. So that's why I was kind of interested in it in the first place. Yeah, we need more own voices. I just don't think authors should have to self-identify just so readers can go, oh, they're actually queer now and their words are valid. Yeah, like there is, and I think that comes with like how online like sort of like woke culture is what I refer to, because I don't call it cancel culture anymore because it's not like cancel culture. I don't know. This is like a whole thing. This was going to be a whole topic at Book Night Fest, by the way. Um, but the culture that we have of like treating marginalized groups as harshly as we treat like privileged white people when we call them out is like really fucked up. Like the fact that like we just, and I say we even though I don't really take part in any of this, but like the fact that the like online community treats everyone in the same level of severity when it's like, guys, it's like these situations are all like fairly unique. Like let's not do this, but they do, and I think that's a huge problem about like how we have discourse. It's just like really shitty. Did you watch any of Canada's Drag Race? I didn't even know that Canada had a drag race. I would. I'm so behind on like American Drag Race though. Like the last season I watched was All Stars season 3 when Trixie won. And that's how long it's been. Do you have any tips on how to handle really low mood during these times of isolation? Like what works for you? Sorry if the question appeared before. No, you're fine. We haven't talked about it. Really low mood. So it kind of depends. Part of me has like I have a therapy answer, and then I have like a like personal answer. Therapeutically, it's really more about just like behavioral activation. So you have to find things that are motivating for you to do, kind of figure out what things have the most bang for their buck that you can do, and like do those things. But it is hard during social isolation. I personally have done a few social things that I wasn't doing at the beginning, but I will only do like one-on-one meetups with people outside if we're getting too close with masks, otherwise like really spread out. So like I've been to like a witchy meetup that was all outside. I've been on a couple of like dates that again, like we haven't touched, we haven't like kissed, we haven't like anything, and it's been separate just because like at the amount of time that this is going on. Again, this is my own. I'm not recommending this as a professional. I'm not recommending this as someone in the medical field. Like I'm not doing this on any kind of any other basis, but this is my own choice. Like with how long this is going on, I know that my mental health was going to suffer if I saw nobody continuously for this whole time. I just am not in that position. And I think that it's really kind of like, it's very easy for people to say like, oh, is my screen fucking up? Or is it okay now? Let me know if it's okay. Because it's not showing on my end. But sorry, that threw me off a little bit. I'm sorry. So yeah, so it's very easy for some people to say like, never leave your house and blah, 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 blah. But like not everyone can necessarily do that or necessarily like, obviously like be safe. Like I would never go to bars. I would never go to like parties. I would never go and like meet up with people like that I don't know, you know, like in big groups. Like I would never do any of that, but also like life is going to the world keeps turning and we're going to be like this for a little while, and I have to like do some things that are low risk, like as safe as possible, to like not be depressed, because that can be just as debilitating too. So, and those are the choices I made for myself. Like again, I'm not like I'm not going to anything super social. I'm still mostly picking up my groceries. I work from home. If I'm doing anything, it's like it's outside. I'm not going to people's houses. I've met up with some friends and we've each sat in our individual cars. So yeah, that's my little like rant that way. But like trying to do something that way, maybe like evaluate where your risk level is. If you still are like no, then there's a ton of like online Zoom meetups. I know they're kind of like draining to be on like Zoom and stuff. There's a bunch of those that are happening. Like Discord groups, like doing the online things. But I think a lot of it is like focusing on your own reaction to things, your acceptance level of things, and like just doing some of the things behavior activation wise are going to help you. Like, is it going to be helpful to have your space clean? Is drinking more water throughout the day like helpful to you? Things that sound so simple and you're like, shut up. But like those things, like they do help as much as we're like, please stop mentioning like if I clean my room I'll not be depressed. I know you won't. Like I know that's not how it works. But like the little things to just help you a little bit, to give you a little bit of a boost is sort of the thing. Have you read Carrie Fisher's memoirs? I haven't, but I do want to listen to the audiobooks. What's woke now might not always be so. So people who think they're superior and woke need to realize that. Yeah, like this is all evolving as society evolves. So yeah, using your time to like tear people down, like not a good way to go. Own voices reviewers are also super important. Exactly. Basically, Abby Dunn's whole thread was really gross, and writing is one of the ways for people to explore how they identify before they start identifying. Exactly. Fiction and writing is a big part of that. I'm sorry if my screen is flickering, but it's not flickering for me, so I'm sorry. Um, Fauci thinks we won't do normal maskless things until next fall. Yeah. So yeah, that's why I'm like, you gotta make decisions for you to like last that long. You know what I mean? I don't understand the obsession with labeling what you are and letting everyone know your labels. That like that used to be such a huge faux pas. Now it's trendy. So I think labels do help some people and don't help others, and that's where they're like, labels are only helpful when they're helpful, which is like, yes, duh, but like they aren't helpful to everybody. Like not everyone finds labels helpful. They're helpful for like a communication thing, but then there's also misunderstanding of labels. So like, yeah, I kind of agree with that. Where it's like it's not, labels don't, especially when not every label has the same definition to everybody. Like it's not very helpful. It's also really easy when you're working from home to end up with an imbalance with work-life balance. There's no definite beginning and end when you're at home all the time. Yeah, exactly. Like that's why I had to start being like, okay, like I'm gonna go get my nails done. Like that's a thing that I'll do. But I cut my hair at home, like completely. Like I don't have any other like salon type things that I do. So like it's just, you have to, like, when it's lasting so long, and yes, it's lasting so long because America's stupid, but it's not people like me that are going out and doing these occasional things that are making it last long. It's the fact that like the nation's not shutting down like it should have, and then people are like congregating because that's their choice, and they can, but it's just like the government is not making it possible for people to like not do that. When you don't move to read the live chat, it looks like my screen is freezing. I didn't know I sat so still. I'm sorry. Be silent. Be still. Can someone explain why this is a thing? Like, I don't mean to be ignorant. I'm queer, but I don't exactly know my label, and I don't find it necessary to put a label on it. Yeah, like I'm saying, like if you labels are only helpful if you find them helpful. I think the big thing with labels online is that online spaces are dominated by younger people. And I think when you're young, you want labels so bad. Like you want a box that you fit into, that you can like show yourself to the world that way, and like people understand you, and you want to be you want to be understood, and you like it helps. But as you get older, labels kind of become more of like a, we understand, it's more open to interpretation, and it's not necessarily as super helpful, and like it's constantly evolving. So I think that's where the label like obsession kind of comes from. Should I read Well Played? I didn't love it as much as Well Met, but I still think it's good. And like I still think it's cute. It's just like it wasn't my preference. It wasn't as well done as like Well Met. But I still think that like world is very fun. Doing my makeup and choosing pretty clothes helps me often, even though no one will see them. I see them. Yeah, exactly. Like, choosing what you're doing, getting up and taking a shower, not staying in pajamas all day, and some of that stuff. Doing whatever to keep you sane. Yep. As someone with PTSD and depression, it took me years to be able to leave the house regularly. The pandemic feels like it set me back since I haven't left the house in ages. I'm finding it harder again. Yeah, I'm sorry that happened. But at least you do, well, not but, however, um, you can do it. So when you can start like exposing yourself to leaving the house, then like you've faced that before, so you can. You know what I mean? So that'll help your brain. So like almost like working a muscle, you have that like muscle memory in your brain almost. So like it won't take you as long to get over it when we can do it again. But I understand that like that feeling really sucks. We need to remove avoid like the plague from our vocabulary because clearly people don't. Oh my god. Do you know any Ace books worth reading? The one that comes to mind for me that has Ace rep is Sawkill Girls by Claire Legrand. That's one of the books. When it also has, does there bi rep in that? I assume there is because Claire Legrand like always writes bi rep. Um, but that was one of the only books where like asexuality was described like super well, and like described on page. Like the character identifies as ace. Um, so that's the one that like immediately comes to mind for me. The apartment above me had a party of over 50 people that police had to break up. I hate living beneath college kids. See, that's the thing is like, yes, I get very mad at these like individuals for like exposing people and whatever. However, like, and not that I want the government to like control us because it's not about that, but like give people the ability to not do that kind of stuff. Like at this point, just opening things up and being like, let people do what they want to do is so the government like wants us to blame each other for things. When it's like a systemic problem. Yes, there are individuals that gonna like fuck up and do stuff, but like at the same time, and not that like we should assume people are stupid, but like college kids are stupid. Like college kids and teenagers, their motivations are different. Their brains aren't fully formed. Like we take on student loans as college kids that we like don't even understand like how the impact of that. Like our brains just we don't have a sense of mortality that young unless you've been sick, that they're not equipped, so being like, oh, they're assholes, like, yes, but also like it's their biology right now, like it's their makeup. And yes, there are some college kids that aren't doing it and are like, this is stupid, but like I'm just saying that like their anatomy is not in their favor. There's also like society has built up college and high school experiences as being these huge important things. So yeah, now these kids want to have their college experience. Like they want to go and party and go to prom and do all these things because that is what society has built up as like that's what being a senior is. That's what being a college is. It's society's fault. Like you built up that like this is the only way to have a college experience, and like college is the best years of your life, so that these kids are feeling like they have to live it up because afterwards like life is going to be a drag. That is a societal problem and like a narrative that like we as a society perpetuate. So while I'm still like y'all are dumb, it's like not completely their fault that they're dumb. Because if it was just an individual problem, we would have smaller packs of this happening, and it's happening everywhere. And it's not just like, oh, a whole generation is stupid. No, it's just like, what have we taught them? One of their parents, like I have clients who are like still seeing their friends and stuff because they're like, like I have one girl who's like, my mom told me like through all of high school, because high school sucked for them, that like, college is going to be the best, and now they like can't do college, and it's like devastating. Like their priorities are different, and that's not necessarily like making them a bad person, So like I still am like fuck about like them partying, but it's not as simple as that, you know. Yeah, the elderly people having parties is the one that bothers me more than the college kids, I think, because I'm like, but then older people are also in this brain state of kind of like, if I die, I die. I don't know why they're like this. And some aren't. There's still some people that have like a fear of death, but like my own dad is like in his 80s and he's like, if I die, I die. And I'm like, Dad, if you die, it has an impact on everybody else in the family. Like, consider that. But there is that like level of like, I've lived through worse. And I'm like, have you lived through a pandemic? Because you haven't. Like, it's just development. Want to buddy read a book? I'm not doing a ton of buddy reads except for on Patreon. Not to like plug that, but that's where like that can reliably happen. Just because I'm not reading a ton right now. Yes. Also, people look to government leaders for guidance on how to take things, how to act, etc. Yeah. And the problem with the pandemic, and it's not really anyone's fault in that way, is that like the information is constantly changing because research has to happen like at the same time. So people are like getting very like, well, information keeps changing, so like I don't even know what to believe. And that's true, but it's like they're losing faith in the researchers, even though it's not the researchers' fault. Like it's just that this is how it goes when you have an active pandemic happening. But they want answers right now, and it's just not possible. Yeah, Boris Johnson has been encouraging young people to go back to work and support restaurants, and now he's blaming us for a potential second wave. Yeah, like that's why the governments have been doing this. They've been opening up so that you can then blame your neighbor instead of blaming them for opening up. We hate to see it. Are there any recent TV film recs you have? No, because I haven't been watching a ton of TV and movies. I don't remember the last movie I watched. Oh, well, I went and saw Jaws and Jurassic Park on a at a drive-in. Like, but otherwise, yeah, like I haven't watched any movies, and I'm trying to work my way through Umbrella Academy season 2. I believe the lie about college being better, some of my worst mental health by far. Yeah, like there is that societal like thing with you know, college is the best, high school is the best, whatever. My grandma is buying cruise tickets during all this. Yeah, like there's something about old people doing that. I don't really know why. Okay, I think I've caught up on the questions. Cool. Okay. Ooh, we've been doing this for about 2 hours. The sunlight is leaving me, which it shouldn't quite yet because it's just about 6 o'clock, but the sunlight is leaving me. So I'm going to wrap this up and also see if my family has planned anything for dinner, which they probably have not. But thanks for joining me. I'm glad I could do this kind of last minute. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your weekend, and I'll see you later.